You report to the FBI Academy at Quantico, Virginia on a Sunday night. The Marine Corps base is 547 acres of woods and shooting ranges and buildings that look like they were designed to be forgotten. You are one of 50 trainees in your class. New Agent Trainee, NAT, the lowest designation in the Bureau. You are assigned a room, a desk, and a schedule that accounts for every hour of the next 20 weeks. 850 hours of instruction. Firearms qualification on the range with a Glock 19M and an M4 carbine. You fire thousands of rounds. Defensive tactics training where instructors, who used to be Marines, put you on the mat until your body memorizes how to fight without thinking. You learn federal law, constitutional law, rules of evidence, interview techniques, surveillance procedures, and the Bureau's rigid chain of command. Everything in the FBI has a manual. Everything has a protocol. You learn that the Bureau doesn't reward creativity, it rewards compliance. You run the Yellow Brick Road, a 6.1-mile obstacle course through the woods that every gnat must complete to graduate. Rope walls, creek crossings, cargo nets, mud pits. You finish with blisters on your feet and vomit in your throat. On graduation day, you receive your badge and your credentials. The director shakes your hand. Your family watches from the auditorium. Your mother takes a photograph you'll keep on every desk for the next 25 years. You are now a special agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, GS-10, starting salary, $52,000 before locality pay and the 25% availability premium that compensates you for the fact that from this day forward, you are never truly off duty. Your phone is always on. Your bag is always packed. They hand you an assignment letter. You requested New York, you got Omaha. Level 2, the field agent. GS-10 stepping to GS-11. Your first office is a resident agency in a city you've never visited. You share a bullpen with 8 other agents. You are the newest. You get the worst desk, the worst car from the fleet, and the cases nobody else wants. Bank robberies, mostly. The FBI investigates every bank robbery in the United States because banks are federally insured. It's not glamorous. Most are simple. A man walks in with a note demanding money, gets $3,000 from a terrified teller, walks out, and gets caught on 4 different security cameras. You track him down in a day using surveillance footage and cell tower data. Write the report in 3. The paperwork takes longer than the investigation. Everything in the Bureau is paperwork. Form FD 302 for witness interviews. Form FD 1057 for evidence. Every action documented, every decision justified in writing, every minute accounted for in a case file that will be reviewed by your supervisor, your squad leader, and possibly a federal prosecutor who will decide whether your work is good enough to take to trial. You learn that FBI investigations are not about instinct or gut feelings. They're about process. Follow the process, and the evidence leads somewhere. Skip the process, and a defense attorney gets the case thrown out, and your supervisor gets a phone call from headquarters asking why. You make your first arrest alone. A fugitive hiding in a motel off the interstate. You knock on the door at 6 a.m. with your weapon drawn, and your heart rate at 160, and your backup 30 seconds behind you. He opens it in his underwear. He doesn't resist. Most don't. The movies lied about almost everything. You handcuff him and read his rights from the card you keep in your credential case because you've only done this twice and you're not going to risk misquoting Miranda. You drive him to the federal courthouse and the whole thing takes 90 minutes and generates 40 pages of paperwork. Welcome to the Bureau. Level 3, the Journeyman. GS-12, stepping to GS-13, 5 years in. You've transferred to a major field office, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Washington. The cases are bigger. You're assigned to a squad, a team of 8 to 12 agents working a specific program. Counterterrorism, organized crime, public corruption, cyber. You choose organized crime because you wanted to be an FBI agent since you watched a documentary about the mafia when you were 14, and this is the closest you'll get to that fantasy. The reality is less glamorous. Organized crime investigations take years. You spend months on wiretap duty, sitting in a monitoring room with headphones on for 12-hour shifts, listening to targets speak in code about shipments and meetings and problems that need to be handled. You learn their voices, their rhythms, their habits, the way a man clears his throat before he says something incriminating, The way his wife calls during an operational conversation, and he switches to talking about the kids without missing a beat. You transcribe conversations word by word and write affidavits for FISA warrants and Title III wiretap extensions that federal judges review with the scrutiny of someone who knows that one procedural error will invalidate 2 years of work. You learn patience, real patience, not the kind you learned in training, the kind that comes from spending 2 years building a RICO case against a man you've never met and may never meet, because the Bureau doesn't let field agents make contact with targets during active investigations. That's someone else's job. You build the case, you assemble the evidence, you write the reports. Someone else makes the arrest. Someone else holds the press conference and stands at the podium with the U.S. attorney and takes questions from reporters. Your name appears nowhere. The Bureau gets the credit, always. That's how it works, and you learn to live with it or you leave. Level 4, the specialist. GS-13. You've found your niche. Every agent eventually does. Some become experts in financial crimes, following money through shell companies and offshore accounts until the numbers tell a story a jury can understand. Some join the evidence response team, processing crime scenes with forensic precision. Some qualify for the hostage rescue team, the Bureau's elite tactical unit, operators who train at the same level as Delta Force and deploy to the worst situations the country produces. You qualify for the Joint Terrorism Task Force, JTTF, a multi-agency unit that combines FBI agents with local police, CIA officers, NSA analysts, and military intelligence personnel. You investigate threats that keep the director awake at night. Homegrown extremists radicalized online in chat rooms and encrypted channels, sleeper cells that may or may not exist based on intelligence that is fragmented and contradictory. Lone wolves who buy fertilizer and rent box trucks and write manifestos nobody reads until it's too late. The work is relentless and invisible. Every lead pursued, every tip investigated, every suspicious financial transaction analyzed. A successful counterterrorism investigation is one the public never hears about because the attack was prevented before it became an attack. A failed one is a headline that changes the country and gets a congressional hearing named after it. There's no middle ground. You prevent 3 plots that nobody will ever know about because the cases are classified and the subjects were arrested on lesser charges to protect sources and methods. You save lives that will never know they were in danger. Your mother still thinks you investigate bank robberies. You can't correct her because the security clearance you carry means half your life is a permanent secret from the people who love you most. Your wife knows you work late. She knows you can't sleep after certain days. She doesn't know why. She stopped asking after the 3rd time you said you couldn't talk about it. She learned to read your silence instead of your words. Level 5, the supervisor. Supervisory Special Agent. SSA. GS-14. You've been promoted to first-line management. You run a squad of 10 agents. You are responsible for their cases, their conduct, their careers, and their well-being. An agent on your squad is going through a divorce because his wife couldn't handle the transfers, the hours, the silence about what he does all day. Another agent is drinking too much after a child exploitation case that required her to review 40,000 images of abuse to build a prosecution. She said she's fine. You know she's not. You've said you're fine 100 times yourself. You send her to the employee assistance program, and she resents you for it because in the Bureau, asking for help feels like admitting weakness, and weakness doesn't get promoted. You manage investigations now. You don't work cases yourself anymore. You review reports, approve operational plans, allocate resources, coordinate with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and attend meetings. Endless meetings. With the ASAC about resource allocation. With federal prosecutors about case strategy. With partner agencies who want your resources and your authority and your name on their operations. You've become a bureaucrat with a gun and a badge, and you understand for the first time why your old supervisors always seemed tired in a way that sleep couldn't fix. The work is administrative, but the consequences are operational and sometimes lethal. You approve a surveillance plan that puts 2 agents in a dangerous neighborhood at 2 a.m. to photograph a target leaving a meeting. If something goes wrong, if the target spots them and opens fire, it's your name on the authorization form, your signature, your decision. You lie awake some nights, running scenarios. Could you have assigned more agents? Should you have waited for a better opportunity? The answer is always maybe, and maybe. is the worst answer there is because it means you'll never know if you made the right call until something goes wrong, and by then it's too late to change it.
And you don't care. Recovery takes months. You keep working. The runs continue. The money flows. You pay off the house. You pay off the medical debt. You start a college fund to get your daughter back in school. You're building a future on a foundation of corpses, and every day the foundation gets deeper, and the building gets taller, and the collapse, when it comes, will be that much more complete. Carlos calls with a problem. One of your drivers got stopped at a checkpoint. Routine inspection that wasn't routine. A dog that hit on something. A search that found what it wasn't supposed to find. He's in federal custody now. His name is Miguel. He's 54 years old. He has a daughter with cerebral palsy who needs round-the-clock care. He took the job for the same reasons you did. He knows your name, your roots, your face. He knows enough to bury you. Carlos asks how you want to handle it. The question isn't really a question. You know what handle means in this context. You've been around long enough to understand the vocabulary. You say you'll figure something out. You hang up. You drive to the middle of nowhere and sit in your truck for 3 hours, engine off, staring at the desert, trying to decide what kind of man you are. If Miguel talks, you go to prison. Your wife loses her husband. Your daughter loses her father. The transplant was for nothing. The debt was for nothing. The future you've built collapses into rubble. If he doesn't talk, if something happens to him, his daughter loses the only person who takes care of her. A girl in a wheelchair, alone in the world, because you needed to protect yourself. You're weighing lives again. You're always weighing lives. That's what this job is. That's what it's always been. You don't make the call. You can't. Carlos handles it another way. Lawyers, money, pressure on prosecutors. Miguel takes a plea deal, does 18 months on a weapons charge, keeps his mouth shut. His daughter is taken care of while he's inside. You don't ask how. You don't want to know. But you understand that you've crossed another line. One you didn't even know existed until you were standing on the other side of it. Year 3. Your wife is healthy. Your daughter is back in school. Your house is paid off. You have savings, investments, a retirement account. You have everything you wanted when this started. You could stop. Carlos would let you. Probably. You've been reliable. You've been valuable. Retirement is possible. But stopping means living with what you've done. Stopping means silence, stillness, time to think. The runs keep you busy. The logistics keep your mind occupied. The constant motion is its own kind of anesthesia. You're not sure you can survive without it. Your wife asks why you're still working so hard. She's better now. You don't need the money anymore. Why not slow down? Take a vacation? Spend time at home? You tell her you're building security, padding the accounts, making sure they never go through that again. She believes you. She has no reason not to. She's married to a truck driver who saved her life through hard work and sacrifice. That's the story. That's the only story she knows. The ATF arrests you on a Thursday morning. They come to the house. 6 agents, guns drawn, your wife screaming in the doorway, your neighbors watching from their lawns. They have surveillance footage. They have testimony from drivers you recruited. They have enough to put you away for 30 years. They offer a deal, full cooperation, names, routes, sources, contacts, everything you know about the pipeline. In exchange, witness protection, reduced sentence, a chance to see your daughter graduate. The alternative is dying in prison while your wife lives out her remaining years, knowing exactly what paid for her transplant. You take the deal. Of course you take it. You've been taking deals for 3 years. The testimony takes weeks. You name everyone you can name. Drivers, handlers, warehouse locations, timing protocols. You draw maps from memory. You explain systems you helped build. You become the star witness in a federal case that takes down a network moving 5,000 weapons a year across the border. Carlos disappears before they can arrest him. You don't know if he's dead, fled, or protected by people higher up the chain. You don't know if he knows you talked. You don't know if someone is coming for you. Witness protection gives you a new name in a new state. Your wife comes with you. She knows everything now. They made you tell her as part of the deal. She sat across from you in an FBI conference room and listened while you explained how you paid for her life. She didn't speak for 2 days afterward. She's still with you. She says it's because she took vows, because marriage means something, because she won't let the cartel destroy another thing. But she looks at you differently now. She flinches sometimes when you reach for her. She sleeps on the edge of the bed, as far from you as possible while still being in the same room. She sees you for what you are, a man who loves her enough to damn himself, a man who killed strangers so she could live, a man whose hands are covered in blood that will never wash off. She stays anyway. You're not sure if that makes her strong or broken. You're not sure there's a difference anymore. You work at a hardware store now. You sell hammers and nails and garden hoses to people who have no idea who you are. You help contractors find the right screws for their projects. You give advice on paint colors. You're normal. You're invisible. You're exactly what witness protection is designed to produce. A ghost who looks like a person. You go home to a wife who tolerates you. You call a daughter who's changed her number twice because she can't figure out how to feel about her father. You live a quiet life in a quiet town, and every night you dream about crates in the desert and news reports from Guerrero and a pregnant woman at a bus station who never saw it coming. She was 26. She was going to visit her mother. You remember her face from the news report. You'll always remember her face. You saved your wife. That's what you tell yourself. You saved her. You just can't remember anymore if the math ever actually worked. Maybe it did once. Maybe there was a moment when the scales balanced, when the lives you enabled losing were fewer than the life you saved. Maybe that moment passed years ago, and you just kept driving because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant drowning. Your wife is alive. Your daughter is educated. Your house is paid for. Your family exists. Somewhere in Mexico, families are burying children because of weapons you moved. Somewhere, a mother is screaming over a body that wouldn't be dead if you'd said no at that truck stop 5 years ago. Somewhere, the math you did is someone else's apocalypse. You saved your wife. You just can't stop counting the cost. That's a wrap. The story is fiction, but the Iron River is real. Thousands of weapons flowing south every year, purchased legally and trafficked illegally, paid for by desperate people making impossible calculations. If this made you think, drop a comment. Subscribe for more.